So we are here with the Develop Air. It's just been set up as if it were a brand new Develop Air. It may not have all of the right parameters, but we're gonna find that out. Let's go set it out in the field. All right, Develop Air is now booting up, and then we'll go connect to it via the iVue RC app in World's iVue. We have our MLRS telemetry radio over here. Just plugging this into our computer via open USB-C port, and we already see it green, meaning it's connected to Develop Air. Now we're opening up the iVue RoboControl app, adding drone, and connecting to the radio. And we are not getting a satellite connection yet. We do have our battery and voltage information updated. And actually, since this was just set up as a new Develop Air, we're actually going to need to do a compass and accelerometer calibration to get the satellite information uploaded. So I'm going to disconnect here in the iVue RC app and then open up QGroundControl. And this is where we might start running into problems. I think we're going to get a constant arming, disarming. Yep, as we're seeing here. But let's see if this is still going to allow us to do a compass calibration, or if it's constantly losing a radio connection. It may prevent us from doing so, at least via the wireless connection. So I'm going to select sensors and then select accelerometer, and then I'm going to need help from here, someone that can communicate in English. So I'm going to select OK, and now you can see it's yellow around this first box saying to hold still, and you get that it's just like right side up, and then that's left side, and then you'll say right side, and then nose down, then nose up, and then upside down, right? And so right now it's just flat and level, so I'm gonna hit next, and then now you won't hit next until it's flat on its left-hand side, right? So let me go ahead and put it on its left side. All right, go ahead and hit next and let me know when it's on the next one. Right side, perfect. Look at that, Kabir, you know English too. Calibration failed? All right, so instead of trying to dick around with the radio, we're going to use the USB connection and do the compass calibration and accelerometer calibration the good old-fashioned way. This is actually kind of a pain in the butt doing it this way, because you'll see you have to rotate Develop Air during the compass calibration, and doing so tethered is not ideal. I'm just unplugging the radio for the time being so we're not getting all those annoying beeps, besides the ones coming out of my mouth. Accelerometer, okay. And next. All right, now it's going on the left side. And if someone can hit next for me, I would appreciate it. All right, now we're going over to the right side and hit next. All right, and then that's nose down, next. Nose up. Wow, without even me having to say next, dude. So you're getting a promotion, dude.
Shoot. Okay, good.
Wow, look at that. A successful accelerometer calibration. All right, now we're essentially going to do the same thing, but for the compass. But before we do that, let's just go ahead and reboot, even though that's not strictly necessary. Probably won't hurt to do so. Damn, it smells like cancer sticks out here. No one would be smoking one of those, would they? All right. Now going back to sensors, compass, And let's see, it's already not ideal that this computer is here with Wi-Fi emitting signals that can interfere with the GPS. Whoever is not going to be watching over the computer, if you can kind of step back just to minimize the other devices that are going to create GPS interference. Even taking off my watch. And San, if you can go ahead and actually hit OK. And now have to rotate it in a way that Develop Air is going to be essentially facing every direction. And it is actually probably better that I redo this. I don't think this one's going to turn out too well, especially with the battery not plugged in. The battery voltage can make quite a big difference in a compass calibration. All right, so one is in the green, one is in the red. Actually kind of better than I thought. I was kind of expecting both to be in the red. So the internal compass is in the red. For the purposes of today, we're just going to disable it. It would be ideal that you use both compasses, but that's why you have two. So if one fails, you can just use the other one. And the one that we're using as indicated here is the one built into the GPS, the external compass. So that's the better one anyway. All right, selecting OK, tools, reboot, and we should just wait for it to reboot here. Now I'm going to plug in Develop Air, and we should get satellite information here in QGroundControl, and if we get it here in QGroundControl, we should get the same information in the iVue RC app as well. So back. No GPS just yet, but with the GPS just being set up and configured, it may take up to like a minute or so. All right, ready to fly in stabilize mode, but that's still not a mode that uses GPS. I'd expect that we would at least have a few satellites that we're connected to by now, but we're still showing 0 up here. And yeah, definitely taking longer than what's ideal. It's detected the GPS, but still not finding its position. GPS 1, bad fix. Let's see, GPS 1, type 1. That should be correct. All right. Let's cut here. I'm going to do some in the field research and see if I can identify what's causing this GPS 1 bad fix problem. All right, we are back. All we had to do was wait, patience. Who has that, right? So Develop Air is now connected to at least 4 satellites. When I last just had QGroundControl open, this was about a couple minutes after we stopped recording. So let's go ahead, set Develop Air back up, open up iVue RoboControl app, and get connected there. And I'm actually going to unplug it out here and then plug it back in. This will establish this as the home location, where it probably previously set the home location at our table, which if we were to lose connection in flight, we don't want it automatically coming back and trying to land on the table where there's a tree directly above us. Wow, Jacob, how about, build in collision avoidance sensors to Develop Air so it'll just avoid the tree? Have you thought about that, Mr. Big Brain? All right, so we are now selecting Connect to Drone in the iVue RC app. we are connecting. It's still showing 0 satellites. However, we are actually seeing its position on the map, so this information should be updated here sooner than later. Yep, it's definitely updating real time on the map. So let's go ahead and put the props on. Getting off balance. All right. Dun da da dun da da dun da da dun dun da da dun da dun da da. All right. So I'm going to go against better judgment, and even though I don't see how many satellites we have develop air connected to, I would venture to say it's probably about 10. So, but let's go ahead, set develop air into loiter flight mode. Develop air is in loiter flight mode, and we're going to select arm and fly drone and select it to take off to 10 feet. And look at that, ladies and gentlemen, no rotation. It's hovering in place. Now, are we going to have the controller problem that we've been running into? I hope not, but if we do, this means develop air is gonna kind of gently fall from the sky, if there's even such a thing as far as gently falling. But plugging in the controller now. All right, the controller is plugged in. I am activating the controller. I'm putting develop air into loiter flight mode, and this is where it would drop normally. So as you saw, it just dropped when I provided it forward input, and now it's returning to land, so it's automatically landing. So it received a erroneous input when I went to go move it forward. It triggered RTL mode. So there is something wrong with the controller input, at least within the iVue RoboControl app. So let's go over to QGroundControl, where we'll at least be able to see how many satellites we're connected to, but may not run into this controller problem. So I just disconnected from the iVue RC app. I'm opening up QGroundControl. We're probably going to have the radio failsafe problem, and I think this is actually just because we're in an older version of QGroundControl. Mohit, our lead software developer's laptop, does not run into this problem. Also, there's a Legion Go tablet handheld PC that we use, doesn't run into this problem, and that's with a newer version of QGroundControl. We're also not getting satellite information here in QGroundControl anymore, which we were previously. That's kind of odd, and I guess you'll have to take my word for it because that was while we stopped recording. But let's see if there's another way I can get that information. And maybe it's through the USB that it was getting that information. But in any case, let me go ahead and put develop air into loiter flight mode. And I don't even think we're going to be able to fly out of QGC. I think we're going to run into too many errors. Let's just check MissionPlanner and see what sort of information we're getting in MissionPlanner. QGroundControl force closed even though I asked it to close, so you know, that's one of those, oh, I didn't get fired, I quit. All right, and we're connecting via the modem or the MLRS radio, which is essentially a modem. And we're getting parameters through MissionPlanner. We see develop air's location on the map. It's still saying GPS, no GPS. But the GPS is actually working. So that's fairly odd. So it looks like there is still some sort of radio problem. I don't know if it's parameters or firmware related, but we'll continue to do more testing. And it is now starting to sprinkle. So let's do a quick little waypoint mission test, see if that works as it should in the iVue RoboControl app, and then we will call it a day. Wow, we had people of the crew leave just Irish goodbye. How dare they? Do you guys even know what an Irish goodbye is?
Yeah, where you just leave without saying anything.
Yeah. All right. And you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and do the waypoint mission. I was going to say, let's not press our luck, but you know, who am I if I'm not pressing my luck? I want to be me. So going to missions, add a mission, drone 1, and now I can select any point on the map. We're going to set an altitude of 30 feet for that first waypoint, and then have it fly around this tree that's out here in front of us. Up to 50 feet. Waypoint 3, back down to 30 feet. Back down to 15 feet for waypoint 4. And then we will tell it to come back to roughly its current position at an altitude of 10 feet. And then we will manually tell it to land there if it all works out. So let's go ahead and upload mission to develop air, which looks like that is not working properly. Let's go to drone. Let's try start waypoint mission. Oh, it did upload the mission complete. So it did complete uploading the mission. I just wasn't watching the terminal. But we're going to go ahead and arm and then start mission. And now develop air should be off on its own. All right, it put itself back into return to land flight mode. So there is definitely some sort of radio connection problem we're experiencing. And also, I don't know why, but that prop keeps on spinning off, and it's that same prop over the last 3 flights, which is very odd. Well, that's why we do testing here, folks. Catch us in the next video.